Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is Brandon and welcome to The Wilson Life. Today we're going to do things a little bit different. We're going to do pretty much a vlog. There'll be a couple updates, but I just kind of want to focus on the importance of physical, mental, and emotional well-being and what that has to do with homesteading and becoming self-reliant. Let's kick off with some updates. Not really a whole lot going on. Right now it's snowing. I am down today. I did something to my back over the weekend, moving around some floor mats for the martial arts class that I participate in. We moved facilities, and so we moved a bunch of stuff, and I must have tweaked my back or something moving things. Since Sunday night, I've just been in a bit of pain and having a hard time sleeping. So it got bad enough this morning that I ended up calling off of work, and I was supposed to go see a chiropractor and see if I can get things adjusted and hopefully back on track. We have gotten a lot of the, actually we got all the plumbing stuff fixed, and everything seems to be doing good that way. I have just got to get some cabinet wood and make some cuts so that we can put that in the bottom of the cabinetry under the kitchen sink, and then get some things to waterproof down under there. That's all done. I don't have the list of things I need to do, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. There's some other things that are going to be going on. As you guys know, we've been having some problems with Brecklin's window. That'll be one of the things that goes on here as it gets warmer, but we're not going to tackle that one quite yet. We need to get out and do some things. Once I get recovered from whatever I've done to my back, I am going to try to get out and do some snowshoeing. That'll be a fun little video that we can post up for you guys. Haven't done that in a while. I don't think we've even filmed that either, so that'll be a fun adventure I think we'll try out. I think we've got snowshoes for all the kids, and we'll do a short little snowshoe adventure. Some developments with Aiden, since we're talking about health and that. We're having to make an emergency trip to Utah. Jackie and Aiden will be going down there in the coming weeks to see a neurologist. Some developments with his genetic disorder. For those of you that don't know, my oldest son, he's had some health issues since birth. He was born really early. Both our boys actually were born early, and both of them spent a substantial amount of time in the NICU. So both of them have struggled with some health issues. Aiden so far has had the worst, and he has some sort of genetic issue that I guess is rare enough that no one knows very much about. They don't even know what to call it. They don't know. We're basically all learning as we go. So that's kind of a big struggle, and something we've been working with. And so he's developed some new symptoms, and they are neurologic. So he needs to go see, he's already actually seen a neurologist, but we are going to get a second opinion. The neurologist up here is not currently working. She's out on leave. So we're taking advantage of that and just going ahead and getting a second opinion. And we will keep you guys updated on that. So if you guys wouldn't mind just keeping him in your thoughts and prayers, and hopefully we can get some things figured out and figure out what direction to go with things. There's been a few things going on, and that's why we haven't put up a video in a while. Decided to kind of step back and take some time for family and whatnot. Also lost a family member, and so just kind of been taking some time to reflect and get our grips again. That kind of leads us right into what I want to talk about: the importance of physical, mental, and emotional health, especially when you're trying to become um, self-reliant and homesteading and stuff like that. It's a lot of work, and not very many people can literally just jump into it and go buy some land and go from there. The most ideal situation would be to invest in some land and start off right from there. It's not that easy, especially if you've got a career and job and stuff. You can't just quit your job and start homesteading. You got to take a step by step. So many of us that are doing this are, still working from home or wanting to work from home, still working 9 to 5 or whatever, and trying to do this. There have been those that have been super successful in just stepping away and doing things. And then there's those of us that it's a little more complicated. There's several reasons why we want to eventually do that. And the biggest reasons is, we have 2 children that require a lot of attention as far as health goes. And, you know, both boys are supposed to be on a fairly structured schedule. And with my current job, it has become a lot more demanding. Um, you know, it, it's hard to keep a structured schedule, but that is something that's needed for both of our boys, most especially Aiden. And if that gets disrupted at all, it can cause issues, and those issues, you know, don't just resolve themselves overnight. In many cases, it takes us several days to get the schedule back on track and get him, back in his groove. So, I've had people not understand why I've gotten frustrated with certain situations at work and everything. And they plain do not understand that that's my family dynamic. Being able to eventually move over to working from home and having my own schedule that's not that I have control over, and it's not demanding a good portion of my time. I can choose whether or not I'm going to do a certain task now, or if my focus needs to be with my family at that time, and I can do that task once the kids are asleep. That kind of freedom is what I desire. And, why am I even bringing this up? It takes a toll on you both physically and mentally, because you're stuck in this situation where you have responsibilities at home and you have responsibilities at work, and your responsibility at work is to be there and do your work and provide for your family financially, and you get caught up in this vortex, and it tends to have an effect on you mentally. Whereas if you're working from home and that it's you have a little more control over that. Of course, you're still going to have, you know, you can't just not do your work at home. You've got to eventually, of course, get to it. But let's say there's an issue, Aiden's having a hard time and needs some help, and Jackie's just mentally and emotionally done for the day and just can't take it anymore. At that point, I can step in. I can choose, okay, I can put this aside. I can work on this later. I am needed here at the home front, and I can take over and give her a break so that she can get herself calmed down and back on track mentally and emotionally. I can help Aiden get calmed down and get back on track, both mentally and emotionally and physically, on what he's supposed to be doing. And anyway, when I've taken long periods of time off and been able to do that, by the time I go back to work, it's kind of like, oh man, because it feels like we're finally able to kind of have things working smoothly and well. And Jackie has told me, repeated me, I really like having you home. It makes a huge difference. So that's an aspect that a lot of people don't understand, and they probably won't ever understand, and that's fine. I've just become someone that it's nice to have a job and it's nice to have money, but I would really like to be able to be here at home more and be a part of that. If I can make money from home and have better control over my schedule, I think uh, it would make our home dynamic a lot better, mentally and emotionally. And there's just lots of struggles. And the other thing with my job, I do like my job. I do like working in the OR. I recently, this week, actually had a physical. I haven't had a physical in like 4 years. Um, you guys need to get out and make sure you're getting your physicals and keeping yourself on track, uh, health wise. That way, that would be one big thing. Anyway, so they, were talking to me about mental and um, my physical, mental health, and everything. Turns out, I guess I scored fairly high on the depression and anxiety, and I was like, okay, well, look, here's what's going on in my life right now. Uh, Suffered a loss in the family. Um, my son's struggling with some health issues. I have a couple health issues that I'm here to address with you guys. And I mean, I work in the OR. It's a joke that we all have that by 9 a.m., we go through more stress and anxiety than the average person does an entire day. It is a very high stress and demanding job. And so I wasn't surprised at all that my anxiety was high. So they wanted me to look into getting some counseling and getting some medication. So we discussed that for a while, and that's kind of basically the focus of my physical, which is a little bit frustrating. But anyway, they were concerned about it. So this got me thinking, what should we be doing? What can we be doing to keep ourselves in good health, physically, mentally, and emotionally? I do not think that medication should be the first line of defense when it comes to these things. A lot of things can be managed with our diet and exercise and making sure that we have balance. And I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but it is true. Look, I have like 13 years in the medical field. I can tell you that medication most of the time is not the answer. A lot of it has to do with our daily habits. If if you have a BMI of 40 and high blood pressure and pre-diabetic and everything, at this point, you're going to need to have some medications. So, Yes, it sounds like I'm contradicting myself. Hear me out here. A lot of things get bad enough where you have to have the medications. But here's the kicker. You shouldn't have to be on those medications for life. What the disservice that the American medical field has done to American citizens is less of a focus on preventative care and more of a focus on medication and treating and things like that. Why? Because it sells. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And I mean, that's straight up the truth. And there's people out there that are going to disagree and argue with me, and I'm go right ahead. Everyone is open to their own opinions. So if you're to the point where you have high blood pressure, have to be on medication, you are pre-diabetic and having issues that way, yes, you are going to require some medications. You also should be focusing on getting yourself onto a diet and exercise plan. And for the most part, practitioners do try to do that. But the thing is why did it get to this point? If everyone's doing their yearlies and having checkups and everything, this person should never have gotten to that point. Now, there's two things that play into this at the same time. That is, one being the willingness of the doctor to keep reminding and stay up on the patient for it, and two, the patient themselves. The patient themselves should be doing what they need to get their health back on track. So that is a basic example of physical health and over-medication of physical health. Am I against medication for things? Not necessarily. What I'm against is our automatic jump straight to medication. We've gone from an investigation part of healthcare to a medication part of healthcare. Instead of trying to figure out what is the underlying cause of things, we are treating with medication. That's where my issue is, as far as our American healthcare system. As far as mental health, I think we jump to medication way too easily, way too much. There are severe cases that need medication, yes. There are imbalances, yes. There are things that require medications. And a lot of these medications they're treating imbalances of certain hormones and controlling channels that either release or don't release certain hormones. You're depressed and having anxiety, and that the first thing they want to do is get you on a medication. Well, hold on, wait a second. Let's look at what's going on in that person's life, right? I definitely do not oppose a therapist and going to therapy and everything. So, we go to therapy. First of all, we ask and figure out what's going on in that person's life and try and figure out, all right, what's triggering, what's causing depression, the anxiety. Before we jump to medication, what kinds of tools can we give them? That's where therapy comes in hand. Therapy is very important. therapy comes in many different forms as well. So I kind of chuckled at the doctor, and that he's like, "How long have you been suffering with the depression, anxiety?" And I was like, "On and off through my entire life." And he asked me if I've done therapy and stuff like that, and I says, well, "Yes, I've done therapy on and off through my life. I've dealt with this long enough. I actually know how to treat some of my triggers, and I know what some of my triggers are. There are some triggers that I don't quite know, and I've been working on trying to figure them out. And one thing for me is if I'm eating healthier and I'm being active, active is a huge thing. And it's not even about maintaining a weight or anything like that. Just being active is something that my body and mind require. When I'm not active, I have a harder time with depression. I have a harder time with the anxiety. I also have a harder time with um, my body, for some reason, struggles with inflammation and pain. So if I'm not being active, if I'm eating heavy carbs and processed foods and stuff like that, I have problems with inflammation. I have problems with, tiredness. I all these problems. But if I can cut down on those and if I can remain active, and it doesn't even have to be like a hardcore active. Um, if I'm getting up and doing something outside, if I'm, it does help a lot if I go to the gym. That's why I started doing martial arts and everything. I now combine martial arts and going to the gym. And the last 3 weeks, I have been feeling a lot better. And now my back's giving me a hard time. And so I'm gonna have to figure out little things that I can do so I don't lose what I have gained. So for me personally, now this is not doctrine or anything. This is what works for me. For me personally, if I can keep those habits up of being active and eating well and everything, I do feel a lot better. It doesn't necessarily disappear, but it dramatically decreases to a point where my lows are very, very easy to maintain. Same with the anxiety. I still have anxiety, but it's easier for me to maintain and control the anxiety. So, doing this whole homesteading thing where it's required me to be outside more. It's harder in the winter, of course, but we've got animals that require us to go out and do things. Even getting out, doing the basic homesteading chores in the morning and evening, and that even helps. Lugging around wood and stuff. Some of these things really help. And I'm only doing them literally part time. You'd think going to work would help and everything, but I'm active at work, but then you've also got the added stress and anxiety. And so cortisol levels are through the roof. And work doesn't exactly help with the stress and anxiety and sometimes depression. But if I'm active outside of that, going to the gym, doing things and stuff like that, I do find it easier to work through the stress and anxiety of both work and home. So ultimately, I would absolutely love to just combine work, work at home, the whole homesteading thing, make me feel like I have a lot more control over my life, over my schedule, being able to be more available for responsibilities here at home, and also my responsibilities within my church. What I wanted to cover, just kind of the importance of finding what works for you. And you don't have to jump right into some elaborate plan or anything. It can start with going for a walk, you know, a couple to 3 times a week, and working your way up to going for a 30-minute walk every single day and building from there. Don't take my advice as medical advice. Make sure you talk to your doctor. Make sure you review things with your doctor. And if they're pushing and pushing and pushing a medication, consider getting a second opinion and finding a doctor that's going to work with you on preventative medicine versus medicated medicine. Because literally a lot of the health issues that we have and that we're treating with medications can be prevented, and a lot of them are still reversible. If you can get yourself on a good regimen, you can reverse a lot of the things that are common health problems. They can be reversed. It just takes some time and effort. So with that being said, I'm going to end the video. I hope you guys have found this interesting and enjoy it. Like always, if you like the video, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one.